And welcome back to the show. Well, we've got something very special for you right now because we're about to take a look at a horror film, I should say, that a lot of people are very, very excited about. And the reason I got that little mix up is because I was going to say horror fans are very excited about this film because it's the latest film from Blumhouse Productions, Night Swim. And there are a lot of people asking questions about this film because it's been, apart from the trailer that's been released, Blumhouse have been very, very secretive about this film. There was an embargo right through until 4 a.m. of the day that it released here in Australia. But we were lucky enough to be one of the only outlets in the world to be able to see this film before it came out. And that's largely because of the interviews that we're about to play in a moment. They let us watch the film because we were going to be doing interviews with the director, Bryce Maguire, and also stars Wyatt Russell and Kerry Condon. But you'll hear those interviews in just a moment. But first of all, let's take a look at Night Swim as a film, because this is one of those films where even with the trailer, you very quickly learn that this film has the potential to be a pretty scary film, basically because of its premise. This is a film about a house with a swimming pool where people go missing in the pool. And to the credit of Bryce Maguire and his co-writer Rod Blackhurst, in the trailer we even see that it's kids that go missing in the swimming pool. Now that is every parent's worst nightmare. And I think this is a film that actually a lot of people in Australia are going to understand the fear associated with this film a lot more than, say, people in countries where swimming pools aren't so prominent. Because growing up with family members and friends with swimming pools, I know that was always a fear. If their child went missing in the backyard and there was a swimming pool, it was an instant source of absolute panic and fear. So I think this is a film that is going to frighten a lot of people in a way because of the fact that it is so simple. I mean, I think a lot of people have that fear of children around a swimming pool. You throw in the supernatural element that this film has, and that just heightens even more. Like, I even found watching this film, there were moments when I was gripping the chair, which I very seldom do during a horror film, but I have an immense fear of deep water. So this film was like playing on that fear, and I think that's one of the reasons why this film is going to end up becoming one of those films that becomes almost a cult classic, because so many people are going to be able to understand the fear associated with this film. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about the plot as well. It revolves around a family made up of the mother, Eve, Kerry Condon, the father, Ray, played by Wyatt Russell, and children, Izzy, played by Emil Hoffiel, and Elliot, played by Gavin Warren. Now, they move into this house with this mysterious pool because Ray was a baseball player in the big league, not the small leagues, in the big league, and he developed MS. Now, that has completely changed both his and Eve's life, but now it's also starting to affect the children, because Izzy and Elliot have had to come to this brand new house that kind of fits the purposes that their father needs, but that's meant them packing up and leaving their family and friends and having to start life as anew. So while Eve is trying to hold the family together and be strong for Ray, there are obvious cracks there from the very start. And the whole reason that they choose this house with the swimming pool is that they decide that, well, this is going to make it a lot easier now for Ray to be able to do water therapy and stuff like that each day because of this swimming pool. Now, I don't want to go too much into the plot because there are a lot of twists and turns in this film, and I kind of want you to have the same experience that I had when I went into this film. But this film, the themes around this film revolve very well around the horror as well, because one of the major themes of this film is sacrifice. In particular, the sacrifice that family members make for other family members if they're going through a chronic illness or an illness that's going to continue for a while. Here you see Eve has given up her own career. She's given up the family life that they're used to. She's given up the life that her kids have found to make them happy over the years. And that theme of sacrifice becomes very important as the film goes on. And I reckon there'll be some people out there who, if they don't understand chronic illness and what it's like to have that in a family member, that will kind of see Ray almost as the villain in the piece, which I don't think is the right way to view it, but I'm sure some people will see it that way. But yeah, that part of the film, I think, is what grounds it, and in a way heightens the horror, because this is a family that's going through a lot. The last thing you want to see them going through is what happens next. Now, the other element of this film where the horror works so well is that the kids, Izzy and Elliot, are basically using the pool as a way to make friends. Come around to our place, we've got this awesome pool. Now, when the pool is the horror, yeah, that starts to make that little ploy by the kids very, very interesting. But look, I think even the supernatural element to this film will work. It's a little bit M. Night Shyamalan, I guess. Like, you could very, very easily see M. Night Shyamalan directing this film. That's not taking anything away from Bryce Maguire, because I think he does an absolutely amazing job with this. For a little bit of a history there, Bryce actually did Night Swim as a short, and now it's been expanded out into this feature, which works remarkably well. Sometimes when people do that, it doesn't quite work, but this one works very, very well. And of course, Bryce has been taken under the wing now of James Wan and Jason Blum, so of course you can expect big things from him in the future. And look, just watching this film, the first thing I thought of was, wow, this guy is making the kind of films that a lot of the big name horror directors of today were making back in the 80s or the early 90s. Films that genuinely scare you, that work a lot more, that's fear heightened because of the fact that horror is kind of based around something that is an everyday thing. This is not a film where it's just like an alien coming out of nowhere and grabbing people. This fear around a swimming pool is a very real fear for a lot of people, and therefore it works a whole lot more in this film. The other thing that I think really shows what a good director and a writer he is that he hasn't forgotten the fundamental things about filmmaking. Characterization will get you a long, long way. The most important thing about this film working, apart from the whole swimming pool being kind of scary, is that you've got to care for this family. This film doesn't work if you don't care for the family and what they're going through, and what they're potentially going to go through with this horror in the backyard. So he sets that up really, really well. Like I said, I think there will be some people out there that may kind of view Ray as a villain in the piece. I didn't do that. I can understand why they would, but look, I just felt for the guy. Like, it's almost one thing for an everyday person to have to give up their job because of an illness, but this is a guy who has reached the absolute pinnacle of the occupation that he's chosen, and yes, it's sport, but he has reached the absolute pinnacle. It's something he would have been working for from a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old, and that's all been taken away from him. Not only that, but now he has to watch as he can't provide for his family anymore as well. So there's a whole range of things there for characters to go through, a range of emotions, and I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people that maybe don't even really like horror will be able to associate with the family in this film. And of course, and then there's Eve as well, who's had to give up her career in order to look after her husband and make sure that her family is safe as well. So there's a very there's a very natural storyline there, and I think that just heightens the horror. For the horror fans out there, yes, I will tell you right now that the horror in this film is something that you are going to like. I don't even want to tell you what kind of horror this ends up being, other than it's a little bit supernatural, but you won't be disappointed. I will tell you that. I know I sound like a bit of a tease saying that, but look, I think one of the things that made this film so special for me was that I didn't know all that much outside of the trailer when I went into it, and therefore when the horror appeared, it was a genuine shock for me as well, and I want you to experience that shock as you go to see the film. But look, Bryce Maguire is a very, very good director in the way that things are revealed in this film, but also the way that the horror is shot. He's helped out by his cinematographer, Charlie Saroff, very, very well as well, in making this swimming pool look pretty scary. There are lots of brilliant shots of like kind of mood lighting over the pool cover, moving back and forward over the pool and things like that. Things that just heighten that general fear that people will have of water in a pool. So all of that comes together very, very well. Like I said, I think this is a director that we're going to have to watch for the future, because I've got a feeling that if he stays with the guys that he's working with at the moment, James Wan and Jason Blum, there are big things ahead of him in the world of filmmaking, especially horror and thriller filmmaking. I think that's the other thing that makes this film work so well as well, is that a lot of the things that he does, like Bryce doesn't go for jump scares in this film. It's more the kind of suspense and thriller that I'm sure Alfred Hitchcock would pat him on the back for. So look, go along and check out Night Swim. I think this is a very, very good horror film. I think it's one of those films that is going to surprise a lot of people, but I'm giving it 4 out of 5. Make sure you stick around now as well, because we're about to enter into my interview with Wyatt Russell, Kerry Condon, 2 of the stars, and also Bryce Maguire himself. But I'm giving this one 4 out of 5. It is a general release, so check your local cinema guide to see where it's showing near you. And stick around right now, because you're about to hear my interview with director Bryce Maguire and stars Wyatt Russell and Kerry Condon from the film Night Swim.